Okay, so welcome everybody. If you're new with us, my name is Brittany Hayes. I'm your Ambassador Diamond Upline, and we've got our Presidential Diamond Leader, Debora Logel, on here tonight. I'm super excited for you guys to hear from Debora. Debora always has so much wisdom to share and just so much just real talk, just, inspiration that just comes like truly just from within her. Debora's been through so many seasons in this business. And I've always seen her come out persevering, and I'm super excited for everything she wants to share with you guys tonight. And I just want to say, before we really dive in, that we're literally almost in the third quarter the last quarter of the year. We're in the third quarter right now. We're almost finished with the third quarter and entering the last quarter of 2021, which is just crazy. We know 2020 was such an insane year for everybody, for some people in more ways than others. But we all got through it. And then here we are, 2021, everyone's trying to get back to normal life, getting, the groove of whatever that looks like for them. And it's literally almost over. And so what I hope that you can take away from tonight, besides your obvious takeaways, you're going to, hear from, Debora and everything she has to share is, are you where you want to be right now? And if you're not, what do you need to do to pivot and get where you want to be? What do you need to do to shift and, make moves to where you can ensure you do in 2021 and start 2022, which sounds so crazy to say, in a way that, you're going to be proud of. And I hope after, hearing from both of us tonight, you realize, you're not alone in whatever you've gone through. We all have had ups and downs in the business, in our personal life, you name it. And sometimes those can bleed over onto each other. But at the end of the day, when you realize like whatever I'm going through right now is just temporary and like I can figure this out, that's when the magic really happens in your business. That's when the boom really happens. And so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Debora. Debora, I just wanted you to just kind of tell your story for those of those on tonight who are new, and maybe don't know you very well, haven't had the chance to hear from you, and then just you can kind of just lead into whatever you want, just what your journey has looked like, and what you've gone through maybe the last 6 months, leading you to right now.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, you can hear? Somebody said yes in the chat. Okay, awesome. Hey, so if you've never met me before, my name is Debora. I am a Presidential Diamond. I've been with It Works for 3.5 years, and Brittany is my enroller. We actually did not meet on social media, where most of us came from. I met Brittany in person. We went to small group together. And I had just finished working an 80-hour week. I was a group sales and special event director at a resort down here at the beach. And while I loved my job, I was exhausted. I was stressed to the max. My hair was falling out from stress. I was desperate for answers. I was desperate for something different. I had been praying forever. Sorry, let me move something. There we go. I had been praying for answers and praying for a solution for something different for a really long time. Didn't know what was coming, but I just trusted. And one evening, I met Brittany at a church small group, and we really just started chatting. And I asked her, what she did, and she said, "I do social media marketing for a health and wellness company." And I kind of just thought, that sounds awesome. That sounds great. What does that mean exactly? What do you do? And I was familiar with our marketing department. I thought she just did marketing, for a company and maybe happened to work remotely or something. But the more she explained about what she did, the more interested I became, because it sounded like maybe something that I could learn how to do. And I was desperate for something more. I was missing everything with my kids. I wanted to have the flexibility to go on field trips and, be the class mom every once in a while and do these things. And when I met Brittany, first of all, she was making like 5 times my corporate salary, working with 4 kids, and she was pregnant with number 5. And I was working 80 hours a week and couldn't think straight. And so I just dove in. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I had never done social media marketing. I wasn't good at taking pictures. I didn't know how to write things. I just knew that I had an opportunity to try something that could completely change my life forever. And that was kind of the way I looked at it. I was like, okay, so let's say I jump in and I, quote unquote, fail at this. I really haven't lost anything. So what? I wasted $100, right? But there was more than $100 worth of products that came in what I bought anyway. So I wanted to try the products. If I failed, then at least I had tried, but it had the potential to maybe change everything. So I just jumped right in and got started. And let me check this real quick just to see if somebody was texting me about this. Okay, we're good. I thought maybe somebody couldn't hear me or I'd messed up somehow. So anyways, I just got started. It took me a little while to kind of get the groove of it and start learning. It took me 5 months to go Ruby, 9 months to go Diamond. By the time I went Diamond, I had matched my corporate salary, basically. And I told my husband at the very beginning of the year, I said, I don't even care if I match my salary. If I could just make $2,000 a month, that'll cover what I need to cover, where I can quit and come home to my kids. And so Brittany told me something that night that I will never forget. She said, our company motto is give it a year and it'll change your life. And she said, I promise you, if you give me about an hour a day, even if it's pieced out here and there, she said, if you give me an hour, I will show you how to match your salary and come home. And literally a year to the day later, I was retired. I was working from home. It changed everything for us. And so flash forward now 2.5 years, I want to talk about this year specifically. This year has been a struggle for me, to be entirely honest. I felt for a long time like I was doing all of the things I knew how to do, and I just couldn't seem to do anything right. My business wasn't growing like I wanted it to. I was just in this crazy headspace where I felt like everything I did was wrong. I couldn't do anything right, and I was just struggling so much. And I'm going to jump in real quick. Some of you know what has been going on the last couple months, and some of you don't have a clue. So I'll just be completely honest and let you know. So I have been struggling with my business for a while, trying to figure out what am I doing wrong? What could I be doing differently? Maybe it's me, maybe it's not the right, industry for me, the right business for me. Maybe I'm in the wrong space, having all of these crazy thoughts. And so I kept seeing these things pop up in my Facebook feed for this other company where it looked like everything was just amazing and everybody is promoting and they have incredible systems and amazing products and it's this ground floor opportunity, and everybody that I was watching was winning over there. Everybody that I kept seeing, it looked like things were just amazing. And so while nothing ever really happened with my It Works business that made me want to leave, I just felt like maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Maybe I need a fresh start. Maybe I need to try something new. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I knew nothing about this industry and I jumped in and it changed everything for the better. It changed our whole lives. It changed everything. It was everything that I wanted and more. I don't want to miss on an opportunity that maybe this is where I'm being steered. Maybe this new company is where I need to be next. Maybe I do need a new start, a new, a fresh start to kind of get creative and get things flowing again. And so a month ago, I joined another company and I was excited and I was ready to try something new. And it was not at all what I hoped it was going to be. I won't go into any ugly details, but everything that I was hoping for, it wasn't there. And this is going to sound kind of silly, but I had already been, even a week or so after joining this new company thinking, I'm going to try something new. I'm going to, maybe this is the right fit. I didn't have this, I had this uneasy feeling that, I made the wrong choice. This wasn't what I was expecting. This wasn't what I was hoping for. And this is going to sound really silly, but honestly, I started reading a couple of books that I've listened to before. And I kept seeing the same themes and hearing the same advice from all of these different things. I was listening to Earl Nightingale. I was reading a book by Mark Batterson. I was reading most recently a book called Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss. That's phenomenal. But I kept seeing the same things over and over again, that if you're not where you want to be, it's not, we tend to think the grass is always greener on the other side. It's not greener on the other side. It's greener wherever you water it. And not that company, necessarily was bad or evil or ugly or, any of those things. I guess I decided that there was something better out there for me. But what I realized was that it was me that was struggling, it was my mindset. It was my, it all started here because I'm the common denominator, right? If I have a bad attitude here and I move states, I'm still going to have a bad attitude in the other state, right? It's not going to make my life more enjoyable or anything like that. And so I kept seeing these things that really just kind of brought it back around, that I didn't need to join a new company to fix my business. I needed to fix my mindset. I needed to focus on what I wanted and where I needed to go, excuse me, instead of trying to be such a perfectionist. I am so bad. I'm the world's worst about feeling like I have to know all the things before I get started. And so I'm doing all of this research and I'm looking over here and I'm looking over here and I'm reading all these things. And I spend, 8 or 10 hours a day researching and looking through things and looking at columns and following all these people and trying to figure out what I'm doing wrong, when in actuality, they're just putting in more effort. They're doing the work. And I kind of chalk it up to, if you're trying to teach your kid, most of us are moms on here. If you've got a little kid and you're trying to teach them how to, like, we'll say, wash a dish, and they can sit up on the counter and they can watch you all day long. They can watch and watch and watch and watch. And they're like, well, I don't want to get started because I'm going to do it wrong. I don't want to try because I'm not going to be able to do it as good as you. I'm not going to this, I'm not going to that. Well, in actuality, you just need to pull up a stool, put them in front of the sink, and let them start washing dishes, because they're going to learn as they go. They are going to pick it up and they're not going to be great at it in the beginning, and that's okay. But you have to put in the work. And I'm such a perfectionist. So much of the time, if I don't have excellent pictures, if I don't have fantastic content, if I feel like I can't say the right words, so much of the time I was just getting in my head and not doing enough because I was so worried about it being perfect. And so, very long story short, a few weeks after I was with the other company, really just, it hit me that that was not where I was supposed to be. Sorry, let me mute somebody over here. I think we got it. It wasn't that I needed to join a new company to fix my business. It was that I needed to fix my mindset. One of the things in Tim Ferriss's book that he said in the very beginning, he said, when you think about your business, your life, your whatever it is that you're working on, he said, think about what it would look like if it were easy, and then do that. He said, we overthink it so much of the time. We feel like we have to have all the answers before we get started. He said, think about what it would look like if it were easy. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, you're right. Like, I'm looking around trying to figure out how to work 19 different platforms, how to utilize a funnel system. I'm like following all of these trainers, when in actuality, I just needed to keep it simple. I needed to plug in. I needed to build relationships. I needed to get out a post. I needed to do follow-ups. And I was making it so complicated in my head that I couldn't get out of my own head to do the work and put in the effort and not worry about it being perfect, but just get something out there, connect with people. And so I actually contacted the compliance department with It Works just a few weeks ago, a few weeks after I started with the new company, and said, I made a mistake. I'm not in the right spot. To be entirely honest, I don't love the compensation plan over here. I don't love the products over here. I'm not loving, any of these things, and I miss my It Works family. Is it even a possibility for me to turn my account back on? And I actually had somebody say, like, we've actually been following you pretty closely. We've been watching your social media accounts, and you did everything right. You didn't trash the company. You didn't cross recruit. You didn't, leave everything going up in flames. Absolutely. We'd be happy to have you back. And so they turned my account back on. And so, to be completely transparent and honest, some of you knew that I went to a new company. Some of you didn't. But I can tell you from experience, it's not better on the other side. It's better where you water it. It's better where you grow it. It's better where you plug into it and feed it and nourish it. And just within, the last week and a half, couple weeks coming back, really seeing a huge difference in my mindset and my mental attitude, putting in more joy, like having fun, connecting with my team again, following up with customers, following up with potentials, and just having conversation. Um, it is okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall down. That's not the end of your journey. What matters is simply getting back up again. Excuse me. What matters is realizing that you've been in a bad headspace for a couple of months or a season, and deciding right then and there that you're coming back, that you are putting in the effort to keep your mind focused, to pray about your business, to pray over your customers, to pray over your team, to ask God to give you wisdom and to bring that back into alignment with where you need to go so that you can truly make a difference with this business. A couple of things that stuck out to me. I was listening to it yesterday, and I've heard this a million times, but it just reiterated over and over again. Earl Nightingale gives an analogy of he tells this story about this farmer who is African farmer, who hears about all of these people all over the country like being able to find diamonds and farming for diamonds and all these things. So he sells his farm and he goes out and he's looking for diamonds all over the place. And the person that ended up buying his farm years later is standing in the creek fishing, and he looks down and finds this huge, big, beautiful rock, and he pulls it up out of the creek and realizes it's a diamond. And he gets so excited and he starts, going and digging and finding all these things. And eventually they end up digging enough of this farm up that they find the largest diamond mine in the entire area. And this farmer that thought he had nothing sold what he had. He sold his acres of diamonds to go look for something better when he literally was standing in the biggest diamond field in all of the area. And so it just hit home to me that I was in my own acre of diamonds, but I thought that I felt like I was doing something wrong or it wouldn't be difficult. I felt like maybe I was in the wrong season. And so I sold what I had and jumped over somewhere else looking for diamonds, when in actuality, it was all here. It was here all along. I just needed to fix my mindset to get things back on track for me and realize that I was the common denominator. And if I was struggling in this business, I was going to struggle in any business, because it was about my mindset and about not being focused and about having to be a perfectionist, so much so that it was causing this just complete paralysis. I was getting stuck because I was trying to do everything right instead of just talking to people and making it simple, because it's so simple. And another thing that I wrote down, another tip was, I had been struggling for a long time and I didn't ask for help. I should have reached out to leaders and said, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but whatever. I should have just gone to my leaders. I should have gone to Brittani. I should have gone to Claire, Alyssa, any of our upline leaders that would have been happy to have a conversation. And I had too much pride. I was too proud and felt silly being stuck, felt ridiculous being stuck. And so I didn't go and ask for help. I simply thought I knew what was best and I jumped. And so if you're struggling, please ask for help. I promise you, there are so many people that will give you suggestions and give you tips and help you brainstorm. And maybe it's not even that you need new ideas. Maybe it's that you just need somebody to say, you can do this. Maybe you just need somebody to believe in you. And there are people in this team that believe in you. I promise that. Let me check the chat for any questions, because that's basically it for me. I wanted to kind of jump in here. Some of you knew what had been going on the last couple of weeks. Some of you didn't. But coming from someone who has made some mistakes and is getting back on the horse and is kind of having a broader perspective, I want to be here to tell you that it's okay to fall down and it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to be stuck, but don't stay there and don't jump out and give up what you have because you don't know where to go next. Just ask. So many of us will point you in the right direction. Let me check. I don't see any questions so far. Oh, and I see Michaela. So you guys, I have to tell you, Michaela did actually come to me. Michaela Brown, if you know Michaela, she's one of the sweetest people you'll ever talk to. Michaela saw a post that I said I have an announcement coming. It was before I even announced that I was going anywhere. But Michaela was observant enough and had seen enough red flags to message me and say, I think I know what's coming. And believe me, it's not better out there. I've been with other companies, I've been on the other side. I just want you to know, like, I think you might be making a mistake. And I basically just said, like, I appreciate you saying that. I just kind of feel stuck. I feel like I'm not in the right space anymore. I'm gonna try this, but thanks. And so Michaela at least um, did try to give me a heads up, and I appreciate that. She was also very gracious. She was one of the very first people I messaged when I said, "Hey, just to let you know, I'm back. You were right. Here I am. I checked it out. I tried it. You were right. It was not better on the other side." Um, so yeah, to someone who is stuck in fear about being so different after walking through a difficult season, then healing, they don't know if they really belong here anymore. I would say I felt the same way. Um, Not that I had the same situation, but I felt like I changed. I felt like things were different in my business. If you didn't catch the question, India asked, what would you say to someone who feels like they've been through a season and they've changed so much that they don't fit here anymore? And I would say this is an incredibly diverse team. So there's always going to be somebody out there who's been through what you're going through. And I'll also say that love conquers all. And if you're struggling with something and you need a team to love on you and help you get back on track, this is the team. You are in the right place, because I promise you, there are so many people that can help, that have either personally that have been through what you've been through and can help, or business wise can just say, okay, maybe you just need a kick in the butt, you need to get back on track. Let's sit down and look at your schedule. When exactly are you going to work your business? That's something that, when you know exactly what you're going to do and when, you end up doing that thing so much more, percentage wise, you end up doing that thing more often than if you don't schedule it at all. So if you're looking at your day, sit down. Amanda Stein actually told me this one time. She said, I look at my week and I look at all of the appointments on my calendar. And she said, I look at, like, Wednesday night I have church, and Sunday I have this. And, Tuesday mornings I take Daniel to do this. And I look at my calendar and I see, when do I have all these things going on? Okay, based off of my calendar, when can I work my business? And then setting aside focused time for you to work your business, focused time for you to get in a 20-minute workout. Exactly what are you going to work out, or what are you going to do for your workout, and when. If you have very specific things set in a calendar, you're so much more likely to do it. So maybe it's just that you need somebody to give you some ideas. You need somebody to sit down and say, let's look at a schedule. When can you work your business? Get back on track. Consistency is way more important than having the right thing to say. I promise you. It's just like that kid that was trying to learn, to wash dishes. You learn as you go way more than if you try to watch somebody wash dishes and figure out all the right ways to do it, right? I feel like that's how I tend to learn best, is when I just simply jump in and go, because you learn as you go way more than you're going to learn by watching. What am I doing now that I wished I had started sooner? I am sitting down with a schedule to schedule in my time, schedule in my work time, schedule in exactly what I'm going to do in that work time. And I have my work schedule in front of me. I have my checklist, and I have a piece of paper beside me. Something that I'm very bad about. I could be or ADHD. I don't know. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Either way, I get distracted very, very easily. And if I am in the middle of working and I remember that I need to call the dentist and make an appointment, I would just be like, oh, that'll only be like 1 minute. Let me do it real quick. And I'd call the dentist to make an appointment. And then before I could get back to my schedule again, Elise would walk in and want something. And I'd be like, oh yeah, let me go do that real quick. And then, and then it'd be like 19 things that came up. And so I sit down now with a schedule. I let my kids know, okay, guys, I'm going to be in here for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. Just give me that time. Don't bother me. And if you've got little ones, maybe that needs to be during nap time, because you can't tell a 1-year-old, I'm in here for an hour. Don't, don't talk to me. But I would sit down with my schedule of exactly what I'm going to work on, who I'm going to message, what I'm going to post. And then I would have a piece of paper for all of those scatterbrained ideas that come up that I know I need to write it down, or I will forget it, or it'll be gone, or it'll distract me. So I write down, call the dentist, or order this on my next grocery pickup, or whatever it is that comes to mind that doesn't have anything to do with my focused power hour. If it pops up in my head and I need to get it out of my head, I just write it down real quick so I can get back to my focus time, because you can accomplish so much more in a focused hour than you can, I promise you, in like 5 or 6 hours scattered when you don't know what you're doing and you're always trying to remember, where did I leave off? What am I supposed to do now? And so schedule your focus time, and then set aside a piece of paper for all the things that come up that you need to just get it out of your head so that you can focus. Because when you sit down and you're like, okay, I'm going to message these people, I'm going to get something in my stories, I'm going to write my post for tonight right now, because I know that by the time the kids get home and I'm making dinner and this and that and I need a shower and all these things goes by the time it's time to post it, you're exhausted and you don't even know what you're going to post and you can't think straight and you're frazzled and whatever. Or you do sit down to post and you get so distracted it takes you hours to do it. I mean, I'm talking about myself right now. I would sit down at 8 o'clock, so because I wanted to get a post out at 8, and by 11:30 I finally finished my post, but I didn't want to post it at midnight because nobody was going to see it, and so I didn't post it all because I was too distracted. So I would say something that I'm doing now that's been really helpful, that I should have started a long time ago, is very specific, focused, scheduled time based on my calendar. Do you guys have any other questions or anything to add?
I love that so much, Deborah. It just reminds me of this saying Amber Parker always says, which is done is better than perfect. And one thing I'll add on to, her suggestion of writing things down, guys, like as things come in your mind, is same thing with post. If like you're listening to self-development, or maybe you're folding laundry and like some amazing post idea comes to your head, go ahead and jot down a couple lines of what you have in your head in your notes. Even if you're not going to actually write the whole post right that second, just jot down what's in your head. If you have an idea for reels you can make later, like go ahead and jot it down. And that way later, when you do have a second to sit down and think straight, you have the foundation for what you want to do, and then you can just kind of go ahead and from there and just expound upon it. I actually have a note in my iPhone that just says reels ideas, and like as I think of things I just add it to there. So like if you saw my last reel that I did, which was like on like, if you're going to gossip about me, please pray for me. I had seen a couple posts on Instagram where people were like, I'm just so tired of people being so judgmental. Like, no one's perfect. Why are girls on social media so mean? And I had like seen several things like that over the course of probably a week. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have this great idea. And like, I don't do a lot of reels. So I want to say, like, full disclosure, like this was me actually trying to like make myself do more. So I'd been keeping a note and just like, putting all these ideas. And when that idea came to my mind, I was like, oh, that's like such an easy reel I could make, and it would resonate with a lot of people. And it would, it's something that, people would kind of laugh at, but also like feel like a little bit inspired and like empowered to not let stuff like that get to them, because they're like, she's right. Like, why would I care what those type of people think? And it ended up being a hit. I got a lot of messages about it, got tons of saves, tons of shares and DM, and people reposted their story. And it literally was 15 seconds. It was just like a random thought in my head. So I just want to share that too, is like, if you have things that come into your mind, like Deborah said, for task, obviously write them down, but also if it's like an idea, like for content, like just write it down. Even if you don't even know where you're going to go with it yet, just write it down. You can come back to it later, and you're going to be that much more ahead, like she said, at 8 o'clock when you sit down and write that post, and you'll actually kind of have that, starting ground. So.
And to add to that, one thing that I do when I'm keeping track of all of those, and I will also tell you, Brittany told me this years ago. So much of your ideas and your inspiration, your captions are going to come from your self development. And so if you are reading books, if you're listening to podcasts, if you're doing things that are constantly keeping your mind engaged, you're going to have those thoughts come up. You're going to be more creative naturally, because it's stirring that creativity inside of you. I don't have an iPhone. I have an Android. Brittany hates me for it. One day, maybe we'll see. But I actually keep a Google Keep list. Sorry, now it's turning on. A Google Keep list of quotes. And I've got a million of them. A lot of them are from Earl Nightingale. A lot of them are from Mark Batterson. A lot of my favorite authors. Anything that I come across in a book that's a great quote, I put it down here in my Google Keep. And then when I'm working, even if it's on my laptop, I just pull up the Google Keep app on my laptop, and I will pull captions from those. And so a lot of times, my post, the inspiration from my post came from what I was reading that morning, whether it be a book or a podcast or a Stephen Furtick sermon. But I can tell you right now, mindset is going to be the thing that makes or breaks your business. Been there, done that, right? Brittany, I know Brittany would agree, and Brittany reads more books than probably all of us combined. So she can definitely give you some recommendations if you're looking for something, whether it be podcast, books, suggestions, whatever. If you're looking for something, if you're stuck, there's probably something very specific that one of us can recommend. So always ask for help. I'll just end it there. Always ask for help.
So one thing I want to leave you with, and it's funny you said, Deborah, I might have a book recommendation. So the book that I'm finishing up right now is called Winning, and it is by my most favorite author of all time, Tim Grover. He's the author of Relentless. Excuse me. But what I wanted to read you guys from this book that I wrote down, he said, winning doesn't care if you can walk up the steps. Anyone can do that. It wants to know what happens when you miss that step, when you can't see or feel what's in front of you, when you have to trust yourself and believe what you feel, not what you see. If you can learn to focus on the result instead of always focusing on the difficulty, you can chase winning, fight for it, and defend your right to catch it. And then lastly, he said, if you stay with it, if you can survive the battlefield in your mind, if you can tolerate the fear, the doubt, and the loneliness, winning would like a word for you. Or sorry, winning would like a word with you. Winning is the ultimate gamble on yourself, the difference between dreaming what could be and actually living it. And to me, that spoke to me so much. I've been through so many seasons in my own business. I've been on the mountaintop, I've been in the valley, and um, I've experienced some of the best friendships of my life in this business, but I've also experienced, seeing sides of people that I thought would always be there for me that weren't necessarily. And all of these things, have their what am I trying to say? Like, have a beautiful piece of them. Like, obviously, there's the obvious when you meet a friend that you're gonna have for life. That's such an amazing thing. But even on the downside, like even in the valley, like even when something happens that's really way less than ideal, not favorable circumstances, there's still a lesson there. There's still a you that comes out on top, and a you that comes out more resilient than you were before if you'll let it, and if you'll lean in, and if you'll realize like this, temporary displeasure I'm feeling is just that it's temporary. Like, what can I learn from this? Can I stand up a little taller from this? And I just think that, when we make that choice, that's when the breakthrough happens. He said something in the book that I really stood out to in the very beginning. He said, winning shows you the best of you and the worst of you. And it's so, so true. All of us have a decision to make when we're winning. Like, what am I gonna learn from this? Or am I just gonna like ignorantly ride this wave? And I think that so often, I know Deborah would agree with this. Jordan's on here. I know she would agree. Michaela, I know you agree. Monique, and I'm missing people, but I'm just like seeing the ones that are right here on my top screen. There's so many times that, everything's going right in the business, and we've definitely learned, we've definitely grown. There's so many amazing takeaways. But then there's like a check yourself moment. Like, if things all of a sudden aren't as fantastic, like that's when the true test of like, how great is my mindset, which is the whole reason we got on here today. And those are when those trying moments actually come up, where we're like, okay, I actually have to put what I've learned to the test. Like, all the coaching calls I've gotten on with other people, like, am I gonna, preach that to myself in this moment? And I want you to know, if you're on here and maybe you haven't, you've barely gotten started, or you've been in a while, and you feel like you've been stuck at Ruby for whatever, or whatever your story is. Every single one of us has a unique story, and every single one of us has things that we could tell you along those lines, that like we're not immune to that either, and we have to learn those lessons too. And I want you to know that you'll never, ever, ever regret just going a little bit further. You'll never, ever regret taking a gamble on yourself, because you can absolutely do whatever you set your mind to. You can do everything you've watched everyone that you look up to do. It's all a matter of like, are you going to keep going when the going gets tough? Are you going to be solution minded? Or are you going to focus on problems? Are you going to turn on a book when you're in a bad mood? Or are you going to like wallow and complain? And it's funny that Deborah said that I've read a lot of books, because I went through every year in the business reading more books than the year before. Last year I read 70 books, and I'll be honest with you guys, this year I've read like 6. And it took me a while to like realize, like, why am I not reading, like what is wrong with me? Like, why am I not reading as near as many books? Like, why am I not watching near as many YouTubes? And the second I got back in my groove and like started turning on audiobooks again, guess what started happening? I started rolling more customers again. I started having more people reply to my stories. I started having more people message me that they were inspired by my content. And it's funny, because it's not funny, it's actually ironic, but like, even me, who's been in the business for a long time and has knows all these things, like still had moments where I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, why do I not feel inspired? Like, why am I not sitting down and like writing killer posts like I have before? And it really is that simple. And I'm being transparent with you guys and sharing that with you guys because I want you to know it really is that simple. It's a matter of putting one foot in the front of the other and just doing what we need to do. And yes, it might not happen instantly the first day you make that decision, but when you make that decision over and over and over again, and you just start, when you put something up in your story, when you haven't put anything in your story in a week, when you sit down and you make a post, or you do that reels you're scared to do, whatever it may be, like when you just do it and you get back on the horse, things will start happening for you again and again. Whatever happened last year that you thought was amazing, whatever happened in 2019, if you've been in the business that long, that you thought was, legendary, and that was the best year you've ever had, 2018, whatever it may be. I know so many of us on here, veterans, we had some of the biggest booms in our business, like the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. What if that is literally a drop in the bucket compared to what's at the end of this year, in the beginning of 2022? Did you ever think about that? I think that so often when we get in a rut and we're not at our high in our business, it's easy to think like, well, maybe I've already accomplished the best that I was ever going to do. And Deborah kind of shared that. That wasn't her exact words, but I know she kind of in a way said that when she was going through her thing, when she temporarily went to another company and then came back. Like, that was kind of a thought in her head, was like, well, what if I'm just not meant to go any further here? But what if you are? Like, what if you are? What if you've been the one that's been holding yourself back? And I don't say that with judgment. I say that as myself too. But like, what if that is all that's missing, is you just making that decision that like, no, I can do it again, and I can do it even better than I did it before, and I can start right now, and I can see where I go, and I can make improvements along the way. And if I need to pivot and adjust, I'll do that. Like, what if that's all you need to do? And so I wanted, just wrapping up, I know we're a little bit over time. I wanted to have Deborah on here tonight because, number one, I know you guys love her so much, and she always just seems to have this way about her to know exactly what to say, and just is always so transparent and open. And I wanted you guys to hear from her story because I want you guys to know that even someone like Deborah, who you guys have looked up to forever and who is so funny and makes everyone feel welcome and would literally give the shirt off her back to anyone who needed it, and you guys look at her and you think like, oh my gosh, like she's got it all, even had a moment where in her mind she's like, can I even do this anymore? Like, is there anything left for me? And if those thoughts can come in Deborah's head, if they can come in my head, if they can come in anyone else's on here's mind, then obviously we understand if that's how you're feeling too. But I wanted you to hear from Deborah because you're not alone. Like, we all have moments where we wonder like, what's next for us, and can we do it? And the answer is yes. And we're all here together as one big team who can relate and can, we can learn from each other. And to me, that's just such a special thing, and something that, over and over again in every season of this business has remained true. And I'm just so thankful for that, and so thankful for every single one of you guys and this team as a whole. And I truly believe that Fire Tribe's best days are ahead of us. And so let's spend the rest of third quarter getting better. Let's start fourth quarter better than we ever have before. And let's end 2021 the way those of us who were in the business then, even stronger than we ended 2018. Let's start 2022 even stronger than we started 2019, and see what happens and see where it takes us. I love you guys so much. Bye, guys.